Hey, hope everyone's doing good today. Well, Eero and Eliel Saarinen, we're going to look a little bit on symbolism that I noticed, and of course looking at the Royal Arch, a video of Shaking My Head productions of Nicholson 1968, and a few extra pictures near the end. So let's get started. The reason for me covering this, well, Finland is just like all the other countries. There are some evil roots to Freemasonry out there. Want to see it or not, it is there, yet most will not or do not want to see it, and the reason I think is because they just want to believe that their country and their leaders are good men and women. I was one of those people as well a few years back, yet many, if not all leaders, belong to one of these Freemason groups, whether it's Rotary, Freemason, Knights Templar, Scottish Rite, York Rite. There's so many. Sometimes it's just not found because they like to hide these things, and because it's not easily seen in pictures or any other way, but it can be seen with symbolism. And to my ex-neighbor and anyone else out there who is a part of Rotary or Lions Club, they are clearly a part of Freemason, just so you're aware. And when I was making my last video on Sean Fute is when I noticed, and it bothered me the most, why he was in front of the Arch of Baal, why he was in front of the Gateway Arch. And so I thought, well, let's look at who built this Gateway Arch. And it happened to be Eero Saarinen in 1947, so a Finnish guy. And it's beautiful at night. Look at the lights. I mean, just looks awesome. Can't say anything more. It's quite spectacular. So I had heard of the Freemason Arch as well, and that's what we'll look at in that video. I mean, he says it's best, so we'll leave it up to him. So let's just look at Eero Saarinen himself. There's the Dulles and the TWA Center. So the TWA Center, there it is in New York. Quite beautiful, quite interesting, and quite unique, wouldn't you say? So it kind of had some similarity, color, and some features to something else I had seen. Let's see if you think the same. The World Trade Center Mall. This is what it reminded me of. I didn't look at who built this. I've done other previous videos on that, but so it just reminded me of the same color, same style, Phoenix Rising, as we keep hearing everywhere, or did hear at least. So he also built the Dulles Airport, also white, and of course you see the black and white symbolism. Notice something else? Right, the little pyramids all over. I didn't go count them, sorry, but that's enough said. Of course, there was this skylight. Had to be round, of course, and a lot of black in there. Interesting. But he also helped with the MIT chapel. And there's a skylight, kind of like what we saw with Kanye West and many others, but it reminded me of something else as well. And what do you guys think of that? It reminded me of the Pope in the UAE with the interfaith gathering. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you think the same things when you see those pictures. Then he also had part in the Ingalls Rink, Yale University. I thought of a stingray personally. And of course it's 23 meters. But of course they called it the whale. There's a different angle of it. Quite interesting indeed, regardless of what it is or what they say it is. It's unique. So his father, Eliel Saarinen, also was an architect. Yeah, he helped build and have architect features in a lot of places in Helsinki, whether it's with the money or the Haga or the train station. His handprints are kind of like seen all over the place. And there's the arch as well, so different but still similar kind of arch. It is beautiful as well. But his first name is actually Gottlieb. And I looked at its roots, and it's German. It's a German name. Interesting, just to say the least. He also had he was a consultant in the planning of Tallinn, Estonia. He wrote a brochure about the planning problems in Budapest. And he was runner-up behind Walter Burley Griffin in the international competition to design the new Australian capital city of Canberra. To all my Australian friends out there, I know there's at least a couple. So I found that interesting because I know a lot of Finns moved there. My grandfather was supposed to move there. So That goes way back, so very interesting. Juha Saarinen and Frederick Johannes Saarinen, so that's his father and his grandfather, a priest and a bank superintendent. And look at the way he held his hand for the picture. Right? That's a very Freemason hand gesture there. He worked on the city as well, so Eliel. Here is one picture. I went to go look just to see if I would notice anything, and there was a lot of blue and a lot of red, and then this one particular circle. Very interesting. So it's nothing unusual here in Finland to see roundabouts. I don't know if you guys have any roundabouts where you live, but it's very typical here. But of course, having it be a star shape is a little bit more unusual. So there is the train station as well, a different view of it. It is gorgeous too at night. Very, very unique. But then a fellow subscriber sent me information on Cranbrook. And I'm sorry if I don't answer all the messages. I really try to see a lot of the answers and remarks on my videos, but it's very challenging with the family and trying to spend time with even little I can. So I need to take a breath away from some of this sometimes. So this is the world's leading center of education, science, and art. That's what it said, at least in this catalog. So thought I'd look into it just briefly. George and Ellen Booth, 1904. Notice the red cross at the bottom. Very unusual. So when you look at the designs and everything in there, there's so much to tell you. I mean, I'd almost have to do a whole video on them. But he had his hands in everything, as you can see. Many architects were there, so he was not the only one, but two pillars and a bench in the middle, you can tell exactly what kind of people were there. And this is an overview of the area. So Saarinen had helped with this Peacock gate. I'm sure you notice quite a few things, whether it's the tail there. My mouse is not working, but the tail, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right. 6 sixes. Wonderful. So much more. So you have the double-headed statue there. The interior of his house, quite different. Couldn't get a really good look since there weren't very many close-ups, but they also had a weaving studio, and she operated in this until 1942, Miss Lola, his wife. And I'm sure you can see many symbols in there as well. But I'm not going to get into that. I just found that unusual, as well as this tea urn that he helped design, or he did design. Quite funky. I don't know. I'd love to hear some remarks, because it's just, there's so much, and I'll add the links if you are interested. He helped with the pedestrian gate and the archer and quad. Just so much to tell you. Plus the first Christ Church he helped design. And notice the kind of like as above so below, the two L's kind of going in different angles there. Yeah, and the Triton Pools by Raphael Moneo. Old Contour and New Centaur. The Europa and Bull and the Orpheus Fountain. I just don't know what else to say other than this should tell you exactly who and what they were all about. Lucifer's Landing by Richard Nunes and the Bee Gate by Peter Rose. Bees are a big part of Freemasonry. So, but that should tell you exactly who they are. So back to Eliel. He helped also with the music hall in Buffalo. It looks quite beautiful on the outside as well as the inside. And when you see that it's right by the water, you can clearly see the as above so below kind of features to it. But I'm trying not to look at all those, but of course there's the archway again, and that's the whole reason why I even started doing this. So let's take a look at this clip.
Be synonymous with the United States motto found in the Great Seal, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, which sounds oh so familiar again. This is clearly just another allusion to the great work. I mean, you have the combining of a plurality of opposites into a single whole, and so this is likely what the slogan Ordo ab chaos refers to as well. That is, creating an orderly state of oneness out of a mass, chaotic state of opposites. But there's also the two pillars in Freemasonry, and I think here again we have another allusion to the dual demiurge with these, which often you have the two pillars portrayed in this opposing fashion to one another, one pillar being colored white and the other black, or on some rare occasions one pillar will be red and the other will be blue. And the two are actually based off the two biblical pillars named Boaz and Jashan that are located outside of Solomon's temple, though in the Bible they're not really depicted as being dualistic in a clear way. In fact, they're barely mentioned at all, really. Another thing about the pillars is the familiar sun and moon symbolism we spoke briefly about before. The two are very often hovering nearby the two pillars, with the sun characteristically near the left pillar and the moon near the right, though in some cases they rest individually upon their corresponding pillars. And as I pointed out before, though, the sun and moon seem to represent the two demiurge figures and their opposed natures. Also think about the connection between Lucifer, which means light bearer, and the moon. A light bearer would refer to something that holds light, like a lampstand, but not an actual source of light, much like the moon and its reflection of the light emitted by the sun. But in other cases you have the earth on one pillar and a globe containing space on the other. This is a plain reference to the microcosm represented by earth and the macrocosm represented by the heavens. But the way the synthesis of the two demiurges is represented in all this is by connecting the two pillars by application of what's called the royal arch on top of the two. And as you can see in this Freemasonic art, the arch is actually made up of several opposing blocks meant to counterbalance each other's weight until the last block can be placed right there in the center. This all likely represents the process of the great work being carried out. The farther out blocks represent smaller micro-opposites that must be synthesized in order to reach the eventual macro-synthesis of the demiurge. Something worth note here, though, is that the Masonic, quote, royal secret that I talked about earlier probably relates to this royal arch and what it represents. That is, the goal of the great work, the synthesis of the demiurge. And so the Freemasonic royal secret probably refers to that. And the portal being placed above is probably meant to picture the ascension of man when he enters through the portal. And the fact that the two pillars are merging at the top, it just kind of shows you that they're foregoing the picture of the arch, and they're representing the same symbolism. They're just representing it in a different way here. And you notice this is also quite similar to the 101 symbolism as well, just rearranged differently. And that's what I was saying before. They're using very similar symbolism here. It's just being reworked and used in different ways to represent the same thing. But notice it's also an allusion to the familiar eye and triangle symbolism as well, with the representation of the eye resting at the peak of the triangle, like on the back of the dollar bill, which that seal on the back of the dollar bill probably is picturing this exact same thing. I mean, think about it. You start out at the base, you have multiple bricks, and the higher up the structure you go, the less bricks there are. It's picturing the synthesis again until you get up to the portal that takes you to the higher realm. But
such a great video. I'll add the link so you can watch in its entirety. But as we know from the Bible, it says, "Now the Spirit speaketh evidently, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, and shall give heed unto spirits of error and doctrines of devil." So that is the concern here, that many are going down that road. And so just like On Point Preparedness said, don't get sucked in and drawn into just researching and looking at only those things, because it will take you too far sometimes. So we need to be grounded in the Word of God. And do not believe every spirit and test every spirit. That's what the Word of God says. And that's what we need to always do. That's it. There's a few more pictures for anyone interested. Otherwise, have a great day and see you soon. So just a few other pictures that I noticed. Christ Church, Cranbrook. Just so much to show you that I'll add the link if you are interested in looking at some of them. But a few things I noticed was the cross there, the triangle on the ground, the peacock. I mean, just so much. And then they also had a crandemonium ball, and just again the octopus there. So that's the reason why I threw that in there. a picture that, of course, Lola and Eliel Saarinen did as well. Plus, I just found this and I just thought I'd put it in there because Patriarch of Noachite. So that reminded me of the Noahide laws, and so just beware that they are there and tell others, because we don't know how much time we are and how much time we are here. I mean, so we don't know, but we need to be vigilant in everything and everything that we see. But remember to also be joyful and thankful today and enjoy all the things that God has given us, because that's what the word says to do. Think on these things that are lovely, that are beautiful. So that's it for now. God bless. Take care. Till next time.